No one passes the ball in Rocket League. One of the biggest tragedies in the history of the game was when the entire player base decided the best play 100% of the time was just to do everything on your own. The second biggest tragedy was the release of these wheels. You can actually pinpoint the exact date that everyone decided they did not want to pass anymore. It was July 7th, 2015, the day the game was released. You see, the truth is, all Rocket League players are selfish assholes. We don't try to be that way, but that's kind of the thing about being an asshole. You're not necessarily that way on purpose, it's just who you are. It's your human nature. There's just something about controlling a vehicle that turns everyone into a massive jerk. This is true in real life, and it's true in Rocket League too. But don't worry, there's hope. In this video, I'm going to show you one way you can stop being an asshole, and how it can completely change the game, not just for you, but for your dumb teammate too. You know, your teammate, that annoying guy that's also on the field with you and has the same goals as you, but gets in your way all the time. That guy. You can actually give that guy the ball. On purpose. If this sounds weird to you, don't worry. The concept of giving the ball away on purpose is something that a lot of players struggle with. For example, in this video, we asked viewers to submit clips of the best passing plays, and half of them were accidents. This guy just submitted a text file that says, "Ha, you think I passed the ball, you fool?" So where does this attitude come from? Well, we all know from watching professional players who are on 8 hours a day, it's never a good idea to give up the ball, because everyone else is worse than you. That's an actual fact for most pros who are queuing ranked. It's a philosophy the best players in the world have, and it's a philosophy you should have too, right? Wrong. You're not a pro. You will never be a pro. I'm going to give it to you straight because I think a lot of Rocket League players are completely delusional about this fact. Unless you have the time and desire to play this game for 6+ hours a day, you will never be a professional Rocket League player. And that's fine. Video games don't have to be your job. In fact, I would argue that making video games your job ruins video games. Ever since COVID happened, everyone thinks they want to be a pro gamer or YouTuber or streamer. But guess what happens when you start to treat your hobbies like your job? It becomes less fun. Do you want video games to not be fun? Then go for it. Rocket League players don't pass in 2v2 because at some point coaches, analysts, and pros told the general player base that passing was not the optimal strategy, and that it's actually best to go for a solo play. Wait for the ball to bounce out, let your teammate go for a solo play, if you're feeling generous of course, and then wait for them to mess up so you can go for another solo play. This is an incredibly boring way to play the game. Do you think it's fun to watch your teammate go for solo play after solo play after solo play, knowing that you have a 0% chance of participating once they have the ball? If so, you can stop watching this video. I think a Rocket League game comprised solely of players taking turns solo playing is the most boring thing in the world. Do you know what isn't boring? Passing. Passing is fun. It's fun to receive a pass, and it's fun to give a pass. You see the magic here? Both players are having fun. If you start passing the ball in Rocket League, your teammates will openly adore you. When I was getting passing clips for this video, which was incredibly easy by the way, my teammates would literally scream in all caps how much they loved me. I don't know these people. This is a complete stranger who has probably played Rocket League for thousands of hours and is so jaded with how little Rocket League players pass the ball that he was overcome with joy when someone willingly gave him the ball. It didn't last long. This guy was literally shit-talking me 2 minutes later, but yeah, that's just because Rocket League players are assholes. Let's just focus on this moment where he was not an asshole for 3 seconds, because I passed to him. That brings me to a massive myth that may be circling your head right now. Passing is hard. Okay, let's address this myth. I'll start. Passing is not hard. Passing is easy. Passing is one of the few things in Rocket League that you don't need a tutorial for, that you don't need to practice for 3 bazillion hours in free play, and you don't need a stupid training pack to figure out. You can just start doing it. When I decided to make this video, I was like, oh, I need some footage of passing. I guess I'll go for some passes. And I was blown away by how many clips I was getting from almost every game I played. Because passing is easy. You just touch the ball to the middle of the field. Now, I will say, sometimes passing doesn't work, and most of the time, it's because your teammate doesn't realize that a pass is even possible. So instead of going into position to receive a pass, they just line up behind you waiting for their turn to solo play. So I should say, passing isn't always the best play to go for. You still have to read what your opponents are doing, where your teammate is, and what the situation is to decide what to do. Sometimes a solo play is absolutely the best thing to go for. That's just a fact. My question is, why does everyone think that's the only way to play the game? That leads us to the next myth. passing isn't effective, particularly in 2v2. I'm not sure where the idea that passing in 2v2 is not effective came from, but it's really just not true. You can definitely pass in twos. When the situation is right, it's one of the easiest ways to score in the game. Many times, it's actually an automatic goal. A lot of players see passing as a last resort once their solo play fails, and that's totally valid. It's a tough choice. This guy, for instance, can solo play versus two ready defenders who will easily counterattack, or score an automatic goal by surprising them with a pass. I know, it's a tough choice, because you have to give up the ball in one of the scenarios. And I haven't even mentioned the effectiveness of passing on the defensive end. Did you know that instead of just panicking and sending a weak clear to the center of the field where your opponents can just retake possession and attack again, you can just pass to your teammate, who can powerfully clear the ball and counter. It's one of the most overpowered moves in the entire game. But here's the thing. Even if you disagree with me that passing is actually effective, it doesn't matter. Because even if it's not the optimal play, I would argue that it's the fun play. Remember, video games don't have to be played the optimal way every time. Video games are supposed to be fun. This is a pro montage from 6 years ago with Lachinio, Torment, and Squishy. See how they're all passing to each other? Back then, this was the coolest thing you could do in the game. What happened to that? These days, we lost sight of how to have fun in this game. Sure, a lot of players might find the most enjoyment by practicing very difficult solo plays for thousands of hours in free play. And there's nothing wrong with that. My question is, why did everyone else get convinced that that was the only way to play? The community has brainwashed itself into thinking that if you can't shit on everyone in the lobby with a double reset backboard musty, you're not really getting the full experience. That you have to slave away and work at a game in order to have fun. It's absolute madness that we let sweaty tryhards tell us how to play this game. You can do things that aren't optimal and still have a lot of fun. Passing is fun. So, why don't we do it more? Well, because at the end of the day, Rocket League players know the real reason they don't pass the ball is because they're selfish. The sooner we can accept that, the sooner we can change. Just admit it. You want to hit the big blinking ball. You don't want anyone else to hit it. You want to hit it. And you can. Just hit it to your teammate instead of directly at the goal every time. Passing is one of the most satisfying things you can do in this game. It's fun, it's easy, it's effective. But we don't do it because we don't want to share the ball. So next time you have the ball, think pass. And you might end up actually having fun in this game. You know, on the other hand,